This is very unique.
I'm gonna put my ears on.
And before I forget, everybody who doesn't know Ralph should know Ralph, and he is now our new board member taking KZ's place, I believe, right?
Okay.
She's hard to replace.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you're welcome to, I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, we don't have to think of it as replacing. You're an addition because KZ's still with us.
Yes,
Yes, I'm gonna try to do this. We have a time of 1:30, which we'll start here in a minute or two, but then I have another meeting at 3 o'clock at Human Services. So
So we need to talk fast so you
we
can
will,
fly.
should be a relatively short meeting.
yeah,
There's a couple of issues we're going to be bringing up, but that's about it.
this particular month, it depends on whether you got 4 Thursdays or 5 Thursdays. So
Ah,
that other meeting is the last Thursday, so some months it won't bother and some months it will. But
Okay.
anyway, thank you.
Okay. Well, I do have 1:30. Is that correct? So with that, the Department on Aging Board meeting is called to order. And with that, I turn it over to you for a roll call.
all right. Roll call. I have Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Carol Zawicki, Gloria Bornacek,
Here.
Ross Amo.
Here.
Kathy Judkins. Darwin Vandepender,
Yes.
Jeff DeCenzo,
Here.
Bert Fenby, Janine Johns, and Commissioner Tillotson.
Here,
You are all set, President.
And District 5 representative?
Oh, they didn't add you when they added Ralph. Casey Bolton, are you here?
Yeah.
Good, Casey. Are you really? Okay.
Yes. Today I am.
Okay.
Present and accounted for.
Okay. Next on the list would be the December 5th minutes. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll look for a motion.
There are no additions or corrections. I move they be accepted as submitted.
I second it.
Seconded and moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And now we're going to go talking about, I turn this over to you and a board member resignation.
I did receive a resignation from one of our board members. I would be happy to read that letter to you. On January 15th, dear Carrie, after many days of thought, I've decided it is time for me to leave the Department on Aging as a member of the Board of Directors. It is a hard decision to arrive at, as I have had in one way or another many years of serving the older population of Lenawee County. First as a volunteer coordinator, counselor, trainer for MAP, then as an employee in those positions, then as a board member. Things have changed greatly since I first started at the department. While working with MAP, I felt as I was greatly used to solve issues confronting those on Medicare and Medicaid. When I retired and a position opened on the board, Tom asked if I would be willing to serve in that capacity. I still felt as if I was being used to serve the senior population. I am grateful for the opportunity I have had to sit with those currently serving and with those that have resigned their positions. Thank you for this opportunity to serve this long. Sincerely, Janine Johns.
Okay. I would first say that she's been here a long time, if I remember. It was early 2000s, was it?
She retired. She retired in 2005.
Been a long time board member. We are going to miss her. We sure appreciate her service. I do not, I'll leave it open. What, are you going to send her a letter or how would we like to approach this?
I think you need to entertain a motion to accept her resignation.
So move.
Second with regrets.
Accept her resignation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Can we send her a card or something from the board thanking her?
We sure can.
Yes.
That would be great. Which also brings up the question, she was our treasurer.
That is a good question. Yes.
I have all that information at the office. Yep.
We need to designate someone new. Are you looking for volunteers or?
That's probably not a bad idea.
So we do need a treasurer, but we could look for anyone that might help in that regard.
We could look at that for this meeting, or we could. Are you volunteering, Casey?
I could, yes.
We don't
might
need a
help.
treasurer then, do we?
Well, we need a motion.
A motion to make, KZ?
I make a motion to accept Casey's as treasurer.
Second.
Again, any discussion? Thank you very much. I would give it that much discussion.
I'm sorry, that was you, Jeff, a second.
Yeah.
Thank you. Microphones distort my where did it come from?
Correct.
Motion made. Any other discussion? No. If all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay. Moving on, we're still back to you with the budget information.
So sharing my usual monthly highlight sheet, some things to bring to your attention. We have completed our very first quarter. At the very bottom, you will notice that we have a benchmark at the end of a quarter. We should be 25% spent. At this point, we are 19.21% spent. And if you're looking at our revenue, yeah, it's a little shy of where we might want it to be to match up. But that is part of the joys of working with the county, is that they help get us there. We have, our millage funds will come in and we'll have a large bulk in the summer that offsets all of that. In February, we are starting to look at, so next week, we'll start looking at a longer budget process. In the past, we've only done 1 year and 1 year and 1 year, and this time we have decided that we're going to try and look out 3 to 5 years. So it's a long process because we have so many different little areas. I should know how many categories we have, but I would say it's probably at least 15 different budget areas that we have to work with different funding sources. And so we have decided that if we did some long range, we would know a better projection of where we're going and how what that would cost us and what we could do in the years to come. So that information will be shared with you as soon as we get it started and rolling, and what it might look like for us, and some things that we may be looking for, some capital improvements, doing some outreach and what those might cost us to put on that budget area. That's what I've got for you, Mr. President.
Yes.
How much will our budget be affected by what's happening at the federal level?
I don't know. I have some true concerns that there are programs that we are currently supporting that won't exist anymore. What that actual fallout will be, I am not 100% sure, but I am certain we will probably have some decisions to make going forward, which was another piece of why we decided to do the long range of where are we getting funding? If we needed to shift, where could we shift from and to? and what priorities might we have. So that will all be part of that discussion process is,
I know with the many organizations that I belong to, they were really concerned about, what will be happening at the federal level and how the income will be coming into the states and to them. And so, this is something that we're not alone in, but it affects each and every organization.
and there were some things in process even last year that have me concerned. The MAP program that Janine spoke of traditionally has been its own entity. They're an LLC maybe, nonprofit. They have been the ones that have been taking care of that Medicare counseling service. There has been some changes and the state is taking that responsibility and then has bid it out. Area Agency on Aging, Wellwise Services has bid to be our regional, taking Lenawee, Jackson, and Hillsdale counties to fund that. To give you a picture, we staff one individual, have two that we pay for in kind minimally. And we get $5,800, $5,800 to support that program. It's not much that we're getting right now. So when we had that conversation, we said, well, we need more. To do what we're doing, we have to have more. So I expect that the state will grant Wellwise that funding. How much and how much we will get, I don't know. And then we will have to decide how we respond to that and what we can offer and what that looks like. I also have some concerns about the foster grandparent program continuing as we know it today. There has been conversations and merges happening there to know what priorities the federal government will put on those programs. And we can only wait and see how that plays out. So those are just two. And then the Older Americans Act funds have certainly been reduced every year. So that's been a huge impact on us most recently as well.
The budgets of a lot of organizations are up in the air at the present time. I would say this isn't unusual, but it is a whole different lifestyle going to happen here, I think. Is that it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more things for you, I believe, right? Okay, I'll just turn it right on over to you with center updates.
Our center updates are quite easy. Senior centers this time of year are quite quiet, and sometimes we're just happy to have that. Regrouping time, quiet time. It's also our hardest time to find volunteer drivers. So if you have extra time or know someone who might have some extra time during these winter months, we could sure appreciate any drivers in any of our 7 senior centers. We are struggling. You'll start to see us do some additional outreach for that. But that's where senior centers are right now. They're all staffed. And we're happy to have them all staffed. Would you like me to carry right on to Daybreak?
Go right on to Daybreaks.
All right. Daybreak is seeing an influx of inquiries and admissions coming that I think is part in due to that the other adult day program, Touch of Home in Lenawee County, has closed their doors. And so I think we're seeing some I think it's given us some individuals that may have attended that site, but also in the communications with knowing that it is closed, it's brought to light that adult day programming is something real and available. And so people are noticing that information and reaching out as well. It's also that we've made some real outreach with the Alzheimer's Association. And for some reason, this particular week, we have had lots of outreach in knowing more about some of the support groups that are happening, some of the opportunities for caregivers. There's going to be 2 new programs that are happening starting in March that Hospice of Lenawee and Hidden Lake Gardens have reached out to see if we would be partnering with them. So I think it's a really great time for adult day programming and respite care and caregiver resources. And so I'm excited to see what might happen yet this spring with those items.
So it was Hidden Lake Gardens and whom?
Hospice of Lenawee.
Carrie, what was the name of the organization that closed its doors?
Touch of Home.
Oh, on Beecher.
Mhm. Yep.
Now okay. The whole thing is shut down. There were technically two separate operations there.
The home care agency,
Yeah,
Comfort Care, is still operating.
okay,
It's just the adult day program
gotcha.
that was in that building. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Home services?
Home services is probably the piece I'm going to be most excited to share about. I shared with you probably the last 2 years when we've been doing budget reviews that we were looking to do a program that would allow our home services workers to have the information electronic on their phone. Currently, our staff goes into the home, they have to use a client's phone number to call to acknowledge that they're in the home. Then they call when they leave to tell us what they do. We generates a report. That's what we use to enter our units. So there's a lot of moving pieces in that. The program that we utilize for all of our data collection for all of our services has designed, and we are now starting to use. We have 5 brave candidates that are helping us test the waters to do an app-based program. So when they go into the home, GPS is marking where they are. They are able to write down notes that they want to send back to the office. The office sees it as soon as it's back uploaded. It gives them a map. It gives them all their information right there on their phone when they're on their way, when they're on the ending the client signs, they can check off all of the things that they did. It's automatically generated. We don't have to wait for that report to come later or to handwrite everything in and then enter it in the computer and then enter it in our payroll system. We are having some bumps, but that would happen with everyone. But I think the staff in the field who was very apprehensive about this program is actually realizing how amazing it is. It's us in the office trying to figure out how to get the reports out of the system that are struggling. But I'm super excited about it. It came in less than I expected it to, not by much, but less is good. And so that made me happy. And I think it will be a great asset to what we're doing. I even think it will be able to be utilized in some of our other service providers. We just have to get a better handle on what it does first. So it's very exciting. There you go.
Okay, well, we're still with you on your director's report.
Well, I jumped the gun and told you about the Alzheimer's support groups already. So I will share about the kitchen. Last Friday, myself and Connie Fenby Beavers, who is our nutrition director, and our head cook, Tony Renke, went out to see the new site. It was bitter cold, but it was amazing to actually be in the building. It has walls, it has planks on the ceiling. It doesn't really have a ceiling yet. It still has a sand floor, but it was most fun to watch the 2 of them look at it and talk about it. They even went from one stood at one end and one stood at the other end, and they yelled at each other to see if they could hear each other because they could be so far away from each other at one time. So it's exciting to start to see it come to life. And I think it's going to be a great thing. It's really going to enhance what we do in ways that I think we haven't even imagined. Every time I think about it or talk about it, there are other positive pieces that are coming with that.
Might want to clue Ralph in with what it is you're saying. Are you familiar with what she's speaking
Oh,
of?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Ralph is really familiar with the kitchen,
You are familiar. Good. Glad to
what's
hear.
going on at Marie Spear.
That's my story.
Okay.
I'm out of words.
And we're looking for public comment and I don't see anybody here. We can have anybody come up with anything they would like to say or do right now would be a good idea. Yes, Casey?
Carrie, with the elimination of the DEI, are we going to carry on in our own way in regards to that, which I know is the right thing to do, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think the pieces that we have in place probably will not change.
Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, yes.
I just have one question about emergency meals. Is there a protocol that we give the meals every month to the people that we service? Or what is that?
Okay, I'm going to define some terms and then ask you to reclassify
Oh,
the question
okay.
to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah,
So when we send out meals, the home delivered meals, there are obviously the hot meal. There is a supper sack, but then we have frozen meals for weekends. We have what we call emergency meals, which are in the winter, we send out extra frozen meals in the event that we're closed. And then we have shelf-stable meals. You're asking me about those meals that we send out in the event that we're closed.
correct.
We send them out in October because heaven forbid, if we don't, we'll have bad weather in November and we close, and it's happened. But they have a 3-month shelf life. So if we send them out in October, 3 months is January. And so in January, we have to send another group to replace those and hope that they use them or dispose of them.
Okay, so we do have a schedule,
Mhm.
October, January. Okay,
Yes. Unless we have that incident where we are closed and they're forced to use them, then we may replace earlier. So then it may be every month.
okay.
And they have the option to get them or not get them,
Mm-hmm,
but we usually replace them if they got them. If that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions? And then I will say, we will be adjourned. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
We got a motion. Yes?
Second.
Second. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? No? We are